Let's listen to this for a minute. Here's Johnny Manziel.
My private life has been out there to a maximum degree. There's no doubt about that. So for me, one thing that I want to do moving forward in this offseason is just try and quiet that to the best of my ability.
Okay, now that's Johnny Manziel last June, because we haven't heard much from Johnny. He doesn't open his mouth and talk unless there's a TMZ camera crew in front of him.
Although he did say recently he wants to clean up his act.
Yeah, well, that was a press release.
Right, it wasn't a verbal statement.
And I still think that what he said recently in that release was designed to clean up his image before the county grand jury here in Dallas gets that case today, that assault case. Chris Lewis is an attorney in Dallas and also a former sports agent. It's a unique perspective, so we thought we'd ask Chris what he thinks about it all. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Well, what do you think about it all?
You know, that when I just listened to that quote from Johnny, the one thing that came to mind was your actions are speaking so loudly I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've got two different things here. We've got what's going to go on with the criminal allegations, and then we have what's going to go on with his career. And I really don't think anything about what happens today with the Dallas County Grand Jury is going to have it could have a negative impact, but his career is so far down right now from a marketability standpoint, from anybody wanting to take a risk on him, that I just don't think it can get any worse at this point in time.
Let's say what he said the other day is true, and he wants to start cleaning up his act, and he goes into rehab, and he works really hard to straighten out. What are his chances of getting back on a team?
So he did that, and this is second act, same play. He went to a rehab facility. He tried to clean up his act. That's probably when that quote came from. He was letting people know that I know I've done things the wrong way. I know that I have not been responsible with my career and the things that have been given to me. And so now I'm going to start taking it seriously. And unfortunately, it's very difficult for a kid that's 22 or 23 years old to be given so many talents and to be given that's not unfortunate, but to be put in a position where your life is out for public consumption at all points in time. But that's the life he chose, and to whom much is given, much is required, and he just hasn't done very much with it. Now, do I think a team will take a chance on him at some point? Maybe. He definitely has the talent, but he's going to have to show a pattern of making good decisions, of doing things the right way, and getting the help that he needs. And it's not going to just be lip service. He needs to. I don't think he'll be playing somewhere next year.
I think the question comes down to, is this just a matter of a young guy with a lot of money and who's always received a lot of attention, a lot of adoration? Is this just a guy living the life that he feels he's entitled to? Or is this a young man who really has a serious substance abuse addiction, and that it's very difficult at this point for him to be able to kick the habit, kick out his friends, and get onto the straight and narrow with a different lifestyle and different people around him? If he gets to that point, maybe he would get a little bit more sympathy, don't you think?
I do, but we are getting more and more and more exposure to Johnny Manziel and people associated with Johnny Manziel and what may have been entitlement issues. We just have a kid that grew up with some means, and now he's rich and he's famous and he won the Heisman and all these things. And he just hasn't handled it very well. But I think what we've done was we've moved past that, and we've seen somebody who his agent Eric Burkhart, who had been with him since I've been friends with him since A&M days, and maybe even before that. He abandoned him. We have Drew Rosenhaus, who, mind you, Drew Rosenhaus is still representing Greg Hardy after all of his issues. He hasn't jumped ship on Greg Hardy. He has on Johnny Manziel. And the thing that's most telling, if you listen to what his dad says, what his parents say, and his dad's come out at least on 2 occasions, and think about a parent coming out in the media saying, I don't know that my child's going to live to his next birthday if he doesn't get some serious help.
Right.
I think what we're dealing with and the fact that he can't appreciate the consequences, it tends to show me that we've got some severe substance abuse issues going on.
Just real quick, how do you think the grand jury is going to rule on this?
This is actually a tough one. Anytime you have a misdemeanor that goes before the grand jury, that's unusual because it's usually reserved for felony. So I think what the police department has done is they said, we are going to be above the fray. We're not going to give him star treatment, and we're also not going to push this case because of who he is. We're going to leave it in the hands of 12 people. I'll say this. If his ex-girlfriend, if she's equivocating, if she doesn't want him prosecuted, or if any of the objective evidence that's coming from Hotel Zaza tends to show that her story initially was incorrect, then I think he gets no bill by the grand jury.
All right. Chris, thanks so much for talking with us this morning. There's Chris Lewis. He's an attorney in Dallas. It's 6